Maybe it's like
Scheduled.
circle, and we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by the Bearded Men of Real Estate. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Did you guys know that the Arkansas Razorbacks are a higher seed in softball than the Georgia Bulldogs? I just want to let
Yeah,
you guys know.
especially our Georgia fans who aren't here yet. We're also doing okay in baseball as well. So we're those tend to be our sports, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, basketball was not bad this year. I mean, Elite Eight.
No, and they should have pulled out that win. Honestly, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean that was too close not to call.
Yeah.
Then football. I think we're supposed to be okay in football again this year. So football's been the hardest one to overcome, but we'll be all right. Well, this show is not really about the SEC sports. We're more about real estate and real estate news. Melissa Mara, she's checking in. She says, "Hey, gents, what's up? Hey, thanks for joining us." Super excited about today's show because we have a lot of news, and some of the news we're gonna kind of couch the biggest part of our discussion at the very end of the show. We're talking about mortgage applications falling. Bankers lowering their mortgage demand outlook. There's an article that says now is the worst time to buy. So we want an honest discussion about if that's true or not, and we're going to talk about some of the biggest obstacles facing home buyers right now, and we'll talk about Lawrence Yun on inflation. We will also dive in to the NAR. They actually proposed something to protect consumers against lawsuits from builders and folks that, whenever they share floor plans of their house to show like, hey, this is what our house looks like, and they're trying to resell their house, they can actually be sued for sharing their floor plan. So we'll dive into that first thing. Then we have two Keller Williams stories. One is about those allegations against John Davis. I'm sorry. Then we'll be talking about Mark King and his plan for unproductive KW agents. Bright MLS, it's gone down and back up and down and back up. And so those outages are sparking ire among some of the agents that use them. And then lastly, Bettercom is back in the news.
They still haven't gotten better.
No, Bettercom is back in the news, and it will be interesting to see how they overcome this next optic. I mean, it's been bad optics for them all year. So
yeah,
but that's what we're covering on today's show. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Yay!
And what they call their new plan for people that want to get rid of their own employment is really interesting.
We're broadcasting live right now on YouTube, and if you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, you can actually comment, and then we can display your comment and talk about you. So there's Melissa Marr. She says, "Hey, gents. Hey, Howard joins us from Israel. What's up, Howard? You can also join us on Clubhouse. We are in the Real Estate Networking Club. So if you're looking for that, you could either search my name or Dan's name, or search for the Real Estate Networking Club. Click the greenhouse at the very top. That greenhouse at the top will let you follow the club and join the club, and then you can be notified of other shows and other rooms and stuff like that we have there. We haven't done like a real estate agent broker lounge in a while, so we need to do that. Okay, well, Dan, we got a lot to cover today.
We do. Let's get into it.
Before we get into all this stuff, I know you wanted to jump right in, but before we do, will you tell people what this show is actually all about?
You know what? I'd love to. When I met Ray here on the interwebs, it was in the 90s, and it was the Wild West, and we used to troll people together.
Yeah.
Hey, there's D Jones checking in. Hey, Beards. Just kidding. We met here. I don't know, Ray. It's been 4 or 5 years. We've known each other. 6 years, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a while. But I had an idea for a show called The Bearded Men of Real Estate, which is now This Week in Real Estate, hosted by the Bearded Men of Real Estate. But when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
What's that, Daniel?
He's never been on the roller coaster at New York, and Las Vegas. Did you guys know that?
I actually have. Roller coasters is like my jam. When I was a little kid, I was afraid of roller coasters. I never wanted to ride them because my parents were like, "Oh, it's so dangerous," and so I was always afraid of them. Then when I was in high school, I rode them, and now if there's a roller coaster, I'm jumping on it. You can't stop me. I've been to Vegas too many times not to ride that one. Is that one still around?
Yeah. So we were just there this past weekend for a softball tournament with our travel team, and the coaches. 3 of the coaches and all the girls went on it, and it was awesome. I haven't been on it in a long time. I think the last time I went on it was 10 years ago or so. But man, it's actually a fun, legit roller coaster. It's really good.
Yeah. D Jones she says, "Hey Beards, Jeremy James, what's up?" Howard says, "Life is a roller coaster. Your love is like a roller coaster." Okay.
My old band Bombchild has a song called Roller Coaster. You should go look it up.
We digress.
Jeremy
James says he's in Facebook jail for a sarcastic comment, so he's on YouTube. Well, thanks.
Are they banning sarcasm now?
This is why we broadcast in multiple locations.
Yep. So we got you covered no matter what. But no, I had forgotten how legit it was. But right when you come out of the hotel, that thing goes up and up and up and up. And now you're looking right over, now, as my daughter Jocelyn calls it, Alla Giant Stadium, not Allegiant Stadium, Alla Giant Stadium. She's all, "What's that Alla Giant Stadium?"
Yep.
You're looking down at the top of it and over all the different features of Las Vegas, man. It's pretty fun. That was a legit roller coaster. The loop-de-loop, the corkscrew, the downturn, that thing was fun. But I did not know that Ray had been on that before. So we all learned something new today.
There you go.
But obviously I noticed he's a beautifully bearded man. And I also noticed that he loves giving value up front to not only his clients, but just to humans in general. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
There you go. And one of the ways we think you should be more as a real estate agent or a real estate industry professional is to know what in the world is going on. And so that's why we have this show. We're going to cover about a week and a half's worth of news stories today in a little under an hour. So we're going to go really quickly through them, have a little bit of discussion about each one of them. If you want to chime in on Clubhouse, just flash your mic. You can raise your hand, come on up. I got moderators that'll check, make sure you're legit, and then you can come on up.
The Roomba Stadium. Yes, I've been trying to figure out what that stadium looks like. I'll find a picture of it. I've been trying to figure out what that stadium looks like, and she nailed it. It's a Roomba. It looks like a Roomba.
Huh.
Here, let me I'll find a picture of it while you keep going, Ray.
Okay. Well, I was ready to get into the show.
Hold on. We need to find a picture now. I know. This is the quickest lack of banter ever. Like,
I know. Well, I got so much going. I mean, that's why we didn't do a show last week. I got so much going on that it's a little bit crazy right now.
I don't know which is a good one. Dude, it looks like a giant freaking Roomba. Can you guys see it? Allegiant.
Oh.
So ALLEGIANT Stadium. Look at it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It looks like a giant Roomba.
That's wild. It's gonna vacuum it right up.
I've been trying to figure out what it, because it looks
funny,
suspicious. And when you drive around it, I've seen all sides of it now. Where we stayed kind of came up one way, and then when you're going on the 15 or Frank Sinatra Boulevard, you see the other side of it. But yeah, there you go. Roomba and Darth Vader had a baby. Darth Roomba Stadium.
Darth Roomba Stadium.
All right. That's so good.
All right, let's get into these articles. All right, there we are.
So refreshing.
So refreshing. And just like that, we got our first article coming up. And that first one's always Big Pop. Big Pop. All right. National Association of Realtors asks Supreme Court to protect consumers from lawsuits when making floor plans of their homes. So this isn't even like sharing floor plans. This is making floor plans of your home and then sharing it like in order to sell it and such.
Can I give some background on it? Because I didn't know this was a thing before you get into this one. So I did some research real quick.
Yep.
And I need to save floor plans, because I was like, wait, how can anyone come after you if you just have a floor plan drawn up, or if you draw one up, or and then I have other questions at the end of this article. I have other questions, but floor plans are copywritten by the original creator. Using them to sell or market your home or building with a floor plan you do not own the rights to is illegal. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Ray?
No, I figured like once you bought a house, then sharing people the floor plan of that house would be legal, but that is not necessarily the case.
Yeah, because you bought the thing. Like, you know, if you use or are caught using a floor plan without permission, you can be sued for copyright infringement. I did not know that. That's
Yeah, I feel like there's only so many ways that you can have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home and kitchen, living, dining, right?
it's kind of like, so I'm a drummer, and drums do not get writing credit on songs because you're not really like, how many times can you go, doof, gah, doof, doof, gah? All right, well,
that
John
was
Bonham wrote that in 1971. So
right.
how do I get credit for it now?
Yeah.
Well, I play it a little different. I have a little more flair, a little more, samba to how, a little more flush how I play to it. But
Yeah.
it's so weird to me that I didn't even know this was a thing. And
Yeah.
how many houses are you scrolling through the pictures and you're like, oh, that's a floor plan. It's really helpful.
Well, especially like spec homes in an entire neighborhood where there's 3 floor plans, right?
Right. That just repeat and reverse.
Yeah. Interesting. So basically, the National Association of Realtors filed an amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court in an effort to protect American consumers from a recent decision from the United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit Court. The court's ruling misrepresents federal law and would invalidate decades of legal precedent by allowing copyright infringement lawsuits to be filed against homeowners who make or display floor plans of their own homes. So this is like not even like using the builder's floor plan. If you use one of those apps or whatever to create a floor plan of your house, you could get in trouble.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The U.S. housing market accounted for roughly 18% of our country's GDP in 2020, said NAR counsel Katie Johnson. The Eighth Circuit's decision not only puts countless consumers at risk of costly, burdensome litigation for making a floor plan of their own home, but also strains the sector of the American economy and threatens a critical tool of transparency for potential home buyers. So basically, the argument was many buyers are going to rely on these floor plans to determine if they want to buy this home or not. So how can a seller not display it, especially if they make one themselves or have one made of their own home? So
that's what I wanted to ask is, so if it was created when the home was, built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, doesn't matter.
Right.
But then you have a new one drawn up and you pay an architect for that. Are you infringing on the...
Yeah, because the actual
design,
the design is the copywritten aspect of it.
Okay, now here's my next question is, when, appraisers come in and they essentially, if they're checking the square footage of thing, they're doing a sketch of it. Is that infringing too? Like, this is a whole thing.
What about the county records? When you go on the county records and see a sketch?
Right. And then there's my final question from Howard is right there. What about Matterport scans and like the 3D models? Is that infringing?
Yep.
Like, where does this stop? Because every one of our listings has a 3D image where you can see the whole floor
plan. Jeremy James says a floor plan is not the house. Well, that's true, but it's pretty much how the house is laid out, right?
Yeah, but what if you change the house with permits and then create a new floor plan?
If you share the designer's prints and graphics, yeah, like the rendition. So anyway, interesting article. It's something to be aware of. Maybe a little bit of good content out there. But I think this also is looking out to protect the real estate agents as well who use those things in marketing.
Yeah, and it turns out that on my real estate exam, I didn't learn this. How weird.
Lisa Perk said it's intellectual property, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes total sense to me.
It makes sense, but I don't know which. I mean, I feel like people should be able to do it.
Yeah, which way do we go on it?
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's get into this next article. I don't want to sit on this next article for very long at all. We're just gonna cover it and then go on from there because honestly I hate this kind of stuff. If that makes sense. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. This is an incendiary, seedy article on Real Trends. It says, inside the allegations against Keller Williams, John Davis. So a civil court complaint alleges 20 years of highly disturbing sexual misconduct from former Keller Williams CEO John Davis, and that company's higher-ups, including Gary Keller, did nothing to stop his behavior. In fact, the allegations from Inga Dow, a Keller Williams franchise owner, claim that the franchise network Gary Keller set up is partially to blame for the prolonged abuse. So y'all can look up more of this stuff. Right now, it's all allegations and claims. Of course, he's not, innocent until proven guilty. He's not been convicted or anything. So these are the allegations that are brought against him and Keller Williams. But it's been saying that it's a 57-page complaint. It's long. And there's a more in-depth look on things like Inman and stuff like that. but it's saying it's been going on since like for 20 years.
Yeah, she was originally licensed in 92. And then I think her first claim is from 98 or so.
Became a team leader in the market center.
Yeah.
Led by Gary Keller in 1996.
So she has had personal contact with Gary Keller and Mary Tennant. I forget who she is, but she's up there. She's
in 1998 is when she said it first happened against her objections. So y'all can read more about that stuff.
And then they got to be careful because they just, let me see. They just say they have yet to either deny or admit the harassment or assault or complicity with that behavior. They have said that Dow's lawsuit carries no legal weight because she is an independent contractor and is too late in filing the case. I think that's,
now there's your technicality, isn't it?
There's your technicality, but is that the stance that a big company really wants to take? Because we live in a time where you're guilty until proven innocent. If someone makes an allegation, it's like, oh, he did it.
Yeah.
They did it, whatever. And
which is kind of like we're running with a grain of salt on it.
Yeah. And then, but it does say down there, that carries no legal merit. There are other responses to it, but do they want that one to be their kind of main response? Yeah. Well, it happened a long time ago is kind of how I read that one. It's not great optics if we're talking about
this whole situation is not great optics.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the next one. Another KW story. Keller Williams president Mark King has a plan for unproductive agents. Keller Williams president says the company has a TBA, to be announced, plan to help 80% of the agents who are unproducing level up, playing to the company's belief that the agent is always number one. It talks about the economy and all this other kind of stuff. In his conversation with Inman, KW president Mark King echoed Keller's belief and shared how laser focused on helping real estate agents become their best and never lose, not market or not. Quote, if you're not making the agent number one priority, you're kind of missed the boat, he said. I've always and always will believe that the real estate agent.
And that's great, but when I was there, it's not at all their focus.
My goodness. I'm trying to read the article and I've got so many pop-ups. As a proud member of the company that has 200,000 agents, it pains me to talk about the fact that not all of us are created equal. I think inherently we know that. If you break down our industry, we've always been an 80-20 industry. 20% of the agents make a living doing this, and 80% are not yet. I'm trying to find, there was another quote I saw in this. Did you have time to look through this one?
Yeah, I had the very last quote in his conversation with Inman. KW President Mark King echoed Keller's beliefs and shared how a brokerage laser focused on helping real estate agents become their best, can never lose. Yeah.
So he said in the next 6 months, you'll hear of something.
Yeah. And that's where, so I was with Keller Williams, and one of the reasons I left, a team I was with essentially started, one of the dudes was part of starting a new brokerage, so we left for that reason. But when I was there, I started my career there and was there for a few years. And I'm a middle of the road agent. Like, I don't want to be a top producer, but I want to make a good living and then want to be able to coach softball as much as I do and take care of my daughters, So I do the
top producer.
Hashtag top producer. So I do the business that I do, and it works exactly for what I need. Back then, though, I was really trying to learn and be the best and going to be a top producer and all that stuff. Rainmaker, they call it. Wanted to be on an ALC, wanted to do all this stuff. But like when you're a middle of the road agent, if you're a brand new agent, they really care because they just brought you in. They just recruited you, and you're their pride and joy. I got you. Right. And then if you're a top producer, well, you're bringing a lot of money to that brokerage. So if you're in the middle, whatever that middle is, whatever number that middle is or what percentage that middle is, they don't really care. And I know maybe a lot of people work with Keller Williams. Maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you don't. But this is the feeling I got because that team leader, they're not really there for you. If in an office of 300 agents, they're trying to make it 400 agents.
Right.
And, they're trying to bring in more agents. So yeah, sure, you're there. But like now I'm on a team with 2 actual brokers and the questions are answered. Like, so I hindsight being what it is, I learned a lot by starting with Keller Williams, but and learned it very quickly. So I'm appreciative of that. But I don't know how they're going to fix that because it is part of their culture. That their team leader literally has goals to recruit so many agents per year. They get bonuses based on that and all that stuff. Unless that's changed in the last 8 or so years.
Whenever you get to a certain number of agent count, then you kind of start to match the average in the market. It's just nature.
It's
so
hard
if you have a ton of agents, then you're going to be matching the averages across the industry because you set the averages. You help set the averages because you have so many agents. So, but I could see what they're trying to put more additional focus into the 80-20, but is that actually going to help? That's what I want to know. Is it actually going to help, or is it going to make some of the 80 that aren't really doing much feel uncomfortable and go somewhere else, which they may be fine with, because then they can focus more attention on the 20. Or should they just focus all their attention on the top 20% that are producing and let the 80 kind of figure it out?
Well, and it's tough too, because remember what their model is. Their model is, if you guys don't know it, it's I start getting enough business where I need to hire a licensed either transaction coordinator or assistant. Mm-hmm. And then I get a buyer's agent under me, and then I focus on listings while they focus on all the buyers, and you build. And I think the goal number is to have 9 members on your team, but you're supposed to have so many listing agents or listing specialists and then so many buyer's agents. The model is designed not necessarily to pick up, but to, keep you all under me kind of thing, and not do your own thing, so.
And now there's like super mega and mega mega and mega expansion mega.
Right.
So there's all kinds of,
Jeremy,
but if you're looking at the numbers and you have like the mega team agent type stuff, where you have one team kind of closing all those transactions, doesn't that mean you have, 20 people on your team that aren't really getting credit for transactions? So isn't that going to also skew the numbers and make it look like they're not doing anything when they actually are?
Yeah, because if I do, if I'm the showing agent and write up the contract, but I don't get credit for any of that, I just get my 25%.
Yeah.
But it goes to, Dumbledore or whoever.
Dumbledores.com, by the way, for Wizards of Real Estate. We got to get that out there. We own it.
Jeremy makes a good point. Sounds more like a low performing agent recruitment line. Yeah. So they want the numbers. That's why they get to say every year, we have 137,000 agents or whatever it is.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at this next story about Bright MLS. I'm not on Bright, but I want to know what you guys think. Bright MLS outages.
Do we have anyone that is Bright?
Aren't you Bright?
I'm not Bright at all.
Oh, you're not Bright MLS people?
No, we're CR MLS people. California Regional Multiple Listings.
I'm Bright.
You're Bright. Have you noticed any outages lately?
Yes. Yep. You log in, the system's down. They have a lot of maintenance issues. It seems like lately it's been more than normal.
Oh.
Tango down.
That was just in the MLS. It's not all the time, but it just seems like it's more.
Well, Bright MLS outages spark ire among members of the second largest MLS. The nation's second largest multiple listing service, Bright MLS, has been experiencing outages for days and is expecting more, prompting frustration among some subscribers. Bright has more than 100,000 subscribers in Mid-Atlantic region, according to Bright subscribers that contacted him directly, as well as those who took to Facebook to vent their frustrations. Bright has been experiencing outages for at least 6 consecutive days. Wow. Then they have a smattering of the post from people complaining about it. According to Bright, over the last 30 days, the MLS has been experiencing ongoing issues with the search function for Matrix and MLS system provided by CoreLogic that powers the search and automated email tools, among other functions. Quote, these issues have ranged from spotty, intermittent, minor outages to issues that have lasted for a few hours. It's a spokesperson from Bright MLS told Inman. This is news just because you guys are, real estate and in the industry. And we were kind of wondering if any of our listeners have been impacted by this. I'm personally not on Bright, so I don't have any experience with it. But someone, I think it was Pete Thorpe, was talking about Bright and the joys or not of what he's experiencing. Anyway, we just want to put that out there. Shawnee, do you have the MLS access right now?
I was just on it a minute ago, and Anna's on it too. Anna's on Bright.
Anna's on it? Okay.
I'm on just 4 different ones.
Wow.
Bright is one that I'm on a lot too.
Okay, let me check our comments and see.
And then where is Shawnee and where is
Justin Conoco
Anna.
said, I just asked my wife and she said I'm not bright.
So Anna is in Chester County, Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania as well, Eastern Pennsylvania. I'm also in New Jersey. So it goes, it covers, I know, parts of Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware. And Anna, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, it's in a bad zone, but Maryland as well.
Maryland as well.
Yep.
That's where Pete is. He works both the.
Melissa Mara is in Jersey. She says, OMG Bright. It's been a fight these last 2 weeks. Robert Sampson said he's on Bright. It's been a PITA.
Pain in the bum.
AWS conflict, from what I understand. Amazon Web
And the
Services.
one thing they had right, Ray, was Remind, and they got rid of it.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's crazy. They did. They just got rid of it.
Wow.
It's funny because I got an email Anna in my brokerage because people were using it.
Oh, wow. Why did they do that?
I personally, I don't know how true it is, but their reason was for lack of use. And I'm like, seriously? It was the one great aspect of Bright. I mean, Bright as a whole, relative to other, and Shani can answer this better because God bless her. She's got to be part of like 15 not exactly, whatever it is, right? 4 or 5 or something, Shani. So if anyone can really compare one MLS to another by, use and navigation or whatever, I would say Shani would have a better answer to that. Yet, as a whole, for all different MLSs, my personal feeling is that it's not terrible. But again, you took the one thing we really loved and said nobody was using it, so we got rid of it. I thought it was ridiculous.
Interesting. I wonder what their usage on their end was showing.
I was going to say, unfortunately, in New Jersey, I'm in Pennsylvania and licensed in both states. There's I think there's 12 in New Jersey, and it's a tiny state. So Terry, I do have to say that Bright is, I like Bright, but I'm only comparing it to the other ones. They're just, most of them are terrible. I'm in 4, and one of them was so bad. One of them was so bad that they upgraded it, and then they actually was a petition to bring it back, and they did. They brought back the whole version. Now you can either do both if you want. I didn't go back to the old version, but Bright is the most user-friendly out of the ones that I have to use.
Out of all 4 of the others. I'm on a system called Paragon. It's fine. I don't have any huge complaints.
Our MLS is like a 90s website that was built by a 14-year-old.
Jim Ling said Bright has been very dim as of late.
Jim, aka the hottest man on the planet. He puts Conoco to shame. You should see that, man. Jeez.
It's true.
Woof.
Hey.
D Jones said the Facebook group is full of pitchforks and tiki torches.
Well,
yeah, that's true. It's a constant venting on there. But I will say, and this has to go for all MLSs, I imagine, that where they missed the boat incredibly. What year did Zillow come out as a real estate marketing company? Was it 80s, early 90s? I think it was 90s. No, it wasn't even that long.
No,
what am I
it was
thinking?
like
Anyway, somebody can
2004
Google
or
it.
something.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. And they're sitting back going, look at that. They'll do it for free. Sure, let's just syndicate with them. I mean, here you have all the data. You've got everything that you need to create your own. And what do they do years and years later after Zillow? Hey, let's just roll out this home snap thing. And I don't know, see how that works. It's like, I don't get it. I'm not a tech savvy person, but you have the info, guys. Like, you could have made your own.
We could have made a national MLS, but that's a different deal.
So
Zillow's been around since 2014, by the way.
That's what I wanted to ask. Wait, what's been around since 2014?
Zillow launched July 2014.
Oh, I thought they were around longer than that.
Me too.
But that's what I wanted to ask. So is this what would potentially happen if we did try to do a national MLS? Just too many, because Dee says it up there. What does she say? Too many regions added in one platform. Would that happen? Or
I don't know. I mean, they have to have a pretty big user, but it's not like the NAR didn't have millions and millions of dollars to figure that out with.
Well, that's my next thing is there anyone from HAR, by the way, Houston area realtors? Because how many regions do they have in there? Is it just Houston area?
That's supposedly one of the best.
Right. So how did they get that to work? And only if we had some cat butt to run in front of my thing. But if only we had like some organization that was like a
Mhm.
governing body that could maybe help us with this. Do you know what I'm saying?
That we were all giving a
Like-
lot of money to.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah. Like that we pay to something to every year to get help from them for stuff, you know.
I feel like that would be a lot better. Better.com asked for voluntary resignations after mass layoffs last month.
No.
Do you like that transition?
I hate it.
All right. Mere weeks after laying off another 3,000 of its staff members, the digital mortgage company Better.com is set to shrink even further as the company initiates a voluntary separation program for its employees with the company. Voluntary separation program. In an
Yeah,
email
that's what they're
sent
calling it,
to
right?
in an email sent to remaining employees on Wednesday, newly named head of
Remaining
people.
employees.
Mhm.
Hey, do you guys want to voluntarily rebuke your own work?
Yeah, the head of people, Richard Benson Armour, said it would
Yeah.
give the U.S.-based corporate and product employees 60 days severance and health insurance if they voluntarily resign.
They have a hop ahead of people. Like how
Yeah,
what's up with this company, man? Like
they're blaming the uncertain mortgage conditions. I mean, we know we've been following this. That's why we're mentioning it today. It's kind of a weird way to lay your people off, but way better than a Zoom call, right? To say, hey guys, we're gonna need to get rid of some of you guys. If you volunteer, we're gonna give you a little bit extra stuff. I still like this way better than any way they've laid off people in the past.
this should have been the first move. Like, hey, things aren't going great.
Yeah.
But if you want to voluntarily interrupt your work pattern, however they want to say it,
Jack Adridge says
Uncoupling.
uncoupling. That's a very good way of putting it. The uncoupling of your employment from our company.
if you would like to uncouple from us, then you have 7 days to respond to this email. Like that should have been the first thing. And then it would give people an indication of what's next, what's coming. So, they're going to probably do some layoffs. Hopefully it's not via Zoom and it's not 900 people. And
They did say that the people who are left, there's going to be a come back into the office program that they do next for those folks that are still employed. So,
hey, I know things have been rocky the past 2 years and really bad for the last 5 months, but you guys want to come back in? And
yeah,
remember,
y'all are going to, those of you who remain here will actually have to come back into the office. So if you don't want to do that, take 60 days severance and go find somewhere else. That's essentially what they're doing, right?
And by the way, remember, there's like high level executives that are uncoupling on purpose to say in protest of what's happening. Remember that, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, but come back in. We have a great work environment now. Everything's awesome. We have a ping pong table. We got an old Atari stand-up machine. It's free too. You don't have to put your own quarters in. It's awesome. We'll even provide free Starbucks before 9 a.m.
I don't think they have all that, but if they did, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That's how you get the millennial, right?
They're fintech, right? So don't they have to offer that? I think they have to.
There's a lot that they're going to have to offer to get over all the mortgage applications that are continuing to fall, Dan. Mortgage applications continue to fall 5%. What? Actually, a mid 5% rate. Sorry, they're not falling 5%. They fell way more than that. They're falling amid the 5% rate.
Yeah, but wait.
What?
We need to go back to Elizabeth's comment. We can't afford severance packages anymore. Does anyone want to just quit?
Oh, I didn't see that. That's good.
Sorry, I know that we've had a good flow of articles, but I had to mess it up at some point. So
that was good. You can't see the article that I'm looking at, can you? Is that the same? No.
I'm looking at the weird bottom of some article.
Hang on. Do this and this and this. Right, there we are.
There you go.
All right, mortgage applications continue to fall amid 5% rate. Mortgage application volume dropped 1.3% for the week, 1.3% for the week, ending on April 8th from the previous week, as mortgage rates eclipsed the 5% mark. Refinance application fell 5% from the week prior, 62% from a week a year ago. So we knew that was going to happen, and that's one of the reasons why Better's in trouble, because a lot of and other lenders too, who added a bunch of people to take on the refinance volume, now they don't need all those people because they don't have the volume. And so we've been talking about this for a little while, and how you'll start to see the shuttering of some of those companies as they get more efficient, given the new volume that they currently have. Mortgage rates across all loan types continued on an upward trend, with 30-year fixed rate exceeding 5.13% this week, the highest rate since November of 2018, according to Joel Kahn. He's the MBA's Associate Vice President of Economic and Industry Forecasting.
I was worried. I didn't think he was going to be mentioned this week.
On the purchase side, the association expects higher home prices, mortgage rates, and ongoing supply constraints to lead to a decline in existing home sales. Despite the sluggish sales in the existing home sales this year, growth in new residential sales and the rapid rise in housing prices is forecast to deliver a 4% annual growth in purchase origination volume, setting a record. What was that?
I just was trying to hit.
Cat?
Yeah, it's just a cat. It's good times.
So it looks like, it's the same similar stories that we've been having a couple of weeks in a row now. With all the mortgage applications and the change, I guess you could say, in the mortgage applications due to all the rates and the rising interest rate.
I mean, it's not unexpected.
No.
But did you read the very, very last line? The very last
quote?
No.
Go ahead.
The MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, forecasts that purchase originations will eclipse 1.7 trillion in 2022. It's a big number. And that's a 4% increase from 2021, which is pretty cool, right? Because there's, I know things are higher and inventory's down. There's lots of doom and gloom, but it's still projecting to be 4% higher from 2021, citing faster than expected mortgage rate increases, potential actions from the Federal Reserve to curb inflation. And then refinance originations are expected to fall 64% to 841 billion this year, and decline another 20% in 2023, which, I mean, if you didn't refi when things were at 2% and 2.5%,
yeah,
I'm sure most people did, or you missed the boat,
Well, I'm going to cover a couple more articles, and then I want to ask our Clubhouse folks kind of what they're thinking about this too. But let's look at what the bankers think. So bankers are lowering their mortgage demand outlook for the year as rising rates hurt affordability. So the nation's mortgage bankers are scaling back their expectations for the year as rapidly rising rates and make it even more expensive to buy a home. The MBA now calls for overall mortgage originations, which include refinancing loans, to total 2.58 trillion in 2022. That's a 35.5% decline from 2021. The previous forecast was for 2.61 trillion.
The big chunk being refis. There was a boom in 2020 and 2021. So the big chunk of that is that large drop, that large dip in refis.
Yeah. Originations for purchases are still forecast to a record 1.72 trillion this year. Previous forecast was for 1.77. So they have adjusted that down a little bit on their forecast for the originations for purchases. So the quote is from Mike Frennatoni, NBA's chief economist. He says that even though existing home sales volume will be slightly lower than last year, the continued growth in new home sales and the rapid rise in home prices should deliver a smaller but solid 4% annual growth in purchase origination volume. So they're still expecting some growth, but it's as new inventory is added to the market, basically.
And I want to ask that question because we are going to bring up some Clubhouse peeps and get some more comments going. But I want to ask that question. Is this a good or bad thing for interest rates to be where they are? Does that help slow down the crazy pace? What is it? 36% up over 2 years ago or some craziness?
Yeah.
If you bought a house before March of 2020 and you've made at least 36% in some areas, is this a good or a bad thing? I really, really, really want to hear a take because buyers are coming to me going, so what do I do? And I would love to hear input from people.
Well, and the biggest question is it a good or bad time to buy? This article says now is basically the worst time ever to buy a house. Nearly 3 out of 4 surveyed respondents told Fannie Mae that it's a bad time to buy a home.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically the worst time ever. It sounds, I mean, I don't know this person who wrote this, but now it's basically the worst time ever to buy a house. I mean, that's how it reads to me.
Well, what's funny is that
please don't cancel me.
They say that at the top, but it's not like economist opinion. It's chief economist says now is a terrible time to buy. It's like this is what people feel.
Right.
So it's a depressing combination. A stunning rise in mortgage rates, historically low levels of inventory, and skyrocketing house prices are fueling consumer pessimism. So Fannie Mae's Home Purchase Sentiment Index, which tracks housing market and consumer confidence to sell or buy a home, dropped 2.1 points to 73.2 in March from the previous month. Compared with the same period a year ago, the index fell 8.5 points. Of the 6 index components, a survey high of 69% of respondents expect mortgage rates to continue their upward trend. About 73% of the participants said that now's a bad time to buy a home, setting a new survey low. This is the quote from Mark Palum, Fannie Mae's vice president and deputy chief. The quote, good time to buy component of the index reached yet another record low, with home prices rising, mortgage rates, and macroeconomic uncertainty serving as consumers' chief concerns. So this is kind of where I want people to make a case to us. We've got 2 more quick articles to cover, kind of in the same vein.
And can I make a quick note? By the way, Jeremy James has come out of the closet as saying what team he's on. He's given us a hashtag and everything.
Oh, Jeremy James is high interest rates.
Team
high
interest
interest rates.
We had a quote. I don't know what's the etiquette here, Ray. Do I mention who sent it into our room chat in Clubhouse, or do I just say the comment without credit?
So if they message me, I don't say who it is.
Okay, but this is room chat.
But if
so is it okay?
it fits in the room chat, yeah. Shout them out. Shout them out loud.
So Jen Mabry, she said she just closed on a deal with Better, and they were actually really good. Closed in 19 days.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, and I think we've heard other people say they've worked with them and they're good, but it's just they're run really poorly. So anyway, I didn't.
I think it's just I don't know that they're run poorly because they couldn't close in 19 days if it was run poorly. It's just the politics of being, the CEOs and all that stuff.
Yeah. We can no longer support your job here.
What'd you say, Jen?
They were really easy to get a hold of.
Look at that.
It was seamless. I was really shocked. I even had like my backup lender for when it fell apart. It was really easy. The guy, you could get a hold of him anytime, after hours.
Wow.
They were in trouble, so they're going to knock it out of the park.
There you go.
But they did.
That's great news. And, throughout our reporting on Better, it's mainly been about what the CEO's done to fire employees, but we've not had anyone yet mention about the process with them or if their process was any good. So that's great to know. All right. So let's take a look at what NAR is talking about on housing affordability. So the NAR study shows a lack of affordable housing is the biggest obstacle to home buying. Lack of affordable home is the top obstacle holding back a potential buyer of all races, but other obstacles in home ownership are varied by race and ethnicity, according to a new report released today by the National Association of Realtors. NAR partnered with Morning Consult for its latest study, and you can download the study there. This is on the national nar.realtor, and they have a little newsroom there. If you go there, you can actually download the whole study and take a look at it. Record high home prices and record low inventory have made home buying process exceedingly difficult, said Dr. Jessica Lotz, NAR Vice President of Demographics and Behavioral Insights. Our new study shows that while the inventory crisis is affecting potential buyers of every race, nearly all home buyers agree that home ownership is still an important part of the American dream. I want to add one more version of this without doing a transition. This is another article on magazine.realtor that kind of pulls from the same data, but has a slightly, I guess you could say, more all-encompassing take on it. Biggest obstacles home buyers are facing. And it's got a great chart on here. I'll try to zoom in. I don't know if you can see this. Lack of affordable housing. And it's also got this broken up by demographics. But lack of affordable housing and lack of houses that fit their criteria are number 1 and number 2. Finding neighborhoods I'm comfortable in, which I don't know what the word comfortable means, but that was number 3.
That's a broad stroke of the brush.
Well, yeah. What does that mean? Competing with multiple offers is number 4. So I would have thought that competing with multiple offers or finding what they're looking for was number 1 and number 2, but it's not. Competing with cash buyers, difficulty saving for down payment, all kind of issues on there. So
That's an
take a look.
interesting
It's a really interesting graph, and it's got some, it's got some interesting numbers. Some buyers said their loan type they're using, student loan debt, homes appraising lower than the amount. So it's got basically most of the problems that, we have experienced as real estate agents or that we've encountered. But this would also make some good content for you guys too, to talk about these issues and how they come up and then how you deal with them as an agent.
Yeah, read through that, because there's 2 or 3 different mentions of agents not doing something they should be doing.
Yeah. Agent not listening to my needs. Agent not showing me all available homes.
Or
that's
stealing.
a weird one in this market, not showing me all available homes. I wonder if they're talking about the homes that are actually under contract, but that look like they're not under contract. I wonder if that's some of the.
Yeah, or if it shows as active still on Zillow or whatever. But
yeah,
on the MLS, or the ones that just stay active, and sometimes agents don't get to it, or they're busy or whatever, and Tuesday afternoon they've already accepted an offer, and you call. I always call and say, hey, my client's interested, do you have any offers, and have you accepted any? Let me know. Right. So I don't waste anyone's time getting out there to show it. I always just kind of reach out first and send my e-card, and then that usually opens the conversation up.
And I don't think inflation was on that list, but it's been in the news lately. So Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist from the National Association of Realtors, took it on. And so here's what he had to say. Rents rose by 4.4%, even though many private sector data sources have been pointing to even faster gains. Hotels and motels are charging 29% more. Realtors drive much more than the general population have felt the pain at the pump. To quantify this, gasoline prices went up 48% from a year ago. So Lawrence Yoon basically is saying, inflation continues to kick higher with an 8.5% consumer price rise in March. Aggressive inflation will force the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates multiple rounds this year and actively pursue quantitative tightening,
not quantitative easing.
Easing, right? It's tightening. That is why mortgage rates recently have shot up so high. Higher mortgage rates will inevitably pull home sales down in the coming months and slow home price appreciation. So pull home sales down. The number of homes are going to go down, and then the home price appreciation is going to slow down. His projection at the moment is for 10% reduction in home sales this year and a 5% home price gain by the end of the year.
Okay, so break that down. 10% reduction, not a 10% correction in prices. It's
right.
Not going to. You're not going to lose 50 grand on your house. A 10% reduction in home sales.
A reduction in the number of units that sell.
And then
sale.
If you're from Arkansas, yes, sale. They sale. And 5% gains, though. So home price gains are slowed. And will only gain 5%, which is more of a normalized market. And then hopefully these homes will I'm getting into my opinion. Should I hold it? I'll hold it.
Let's hold it. So, and that's where I wanted to go next. So let's have a couple of people. I want you guys to make a case for me in the face of inflation, in the face of this inflation, in the face of the rising rates and the limited inventory for people to choose from. How are you telling your buyer, if they're asking you, is now a good time to buy, what is your answer? Does anyone want to take this on first? Flash your mic and I'll come to you. No? Chickens. Oh,
there you go. Anna's in.
Anna's in. All right. Anna, what is your answer when someone says, is now really a good time to buy with all this stuff going on?
It depends. Depends on what your current situation is. If you're financially able to. What are you renting for now? What's the rent situation in our market? Rental properties are as difficult, if not more difficult, to find. And when you do, you're against 100 applications. So are you in a current rental? What is the cost of that? What's the cost of continuing to wait, as others did in the last 2-3 years, and want to shoot themselves in the foot for doing so? How long do you plan on living in the home? What's the need of the property? What's the reason for the purchase? There's so many questions, but truly in any scenario, generally the answer is more questions. So if you understand what your client's objective is, what their actual goals are, not just what they say, I want, fill in the blank, but that you understand what their overall goals are. Then you determine if it is or isn't a good time to buy.
So you're saying that it doesn't really matter what the market's doing. It matters more that individual's goals and what they're looking for.
Always, right? Why did people buy homes when the interest rate was 18%? Right?
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah.
need, right? And so, sure, there could be the right time. And I say the same thing to sellers. Isn't April the best time to list your home? Not necessarily, right? Before this ridiculous market, are you ready for the market? Do you have somewhere to go, right?
Yeah.
What does it matter if I get you 2% more for your home today than I would in June, and you still have nowhere to go? And so
Yeah.
you got that 2% more, and now you're in temporary housing. Was that the best time for you to sell? It really depends.
Yeah, that's good. I would agree with your take on it. Is there anyone out there that's like, no, now's not a good time to buy? Feel free to pop up, raise your hand. I personally, and Dan, you can give your opinion on it too. I take a similar stance. Whenever someone asks me, is now a good time to buy? It's, it totally depends. It depends on what they're looking for. It depends on their goals. When a seller asks me in a seller's market or a buyer's market, is now a good time to sell? It's the same answer. It depends, because if you're going to sell in a seller's market, you may not want to go through all the trouble to get your home ready, because you still have to be pretty competitive to get the best price, to maximize your net and equity. It's going to be difficult for you to find the next house. You're going to lose some of your gains when you go to purchase your next home. But if you wait until a buyer's market, you're going to lose some on your sale. You may have to give up more to the buyer, but you're going to gain a lot whenever you buy and turn around and take your equity, move it into something in which you're getting a better deal. So as long as you're in the same market, it doesn't really make a difference what the market is doing. It's all about your need. If you want to buy a house because you're running out of room, or the math still works that if you're currently renting, it's a better deal for you to purchase a home and build up equity. So I think there's lots and lots of reasons why now is still a good time to buy. I think what people are saying that it's not a good time to buy is they're looking at it comparatively to a super low rate,
Right.
unlimited inventory,
A crazy rate that didn't really exist. People got those rates, but it was really just to keep the economy going.
Yeah. And so I think they're looking at that as a recent comparison. But if you also compared now to the Carter years, it seems like a pretty great time to buy. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. If you compare that to the Carter years, it seems like a pretty good time to buy right now, because it's not 14-15% interest rates.
Right. And that seems like such a cliche or standard issue thing to say, but it's true. Yeah. I mean, I've always said pretty much throughout my career, because I've been doing this for 10, 11 years now. And there you go. Jeremy James did a great point. Rent is rising and is 100% interest with no equity gains. Zero. Yep. You're not going to get any back. And I don't know here in California, I don't know a lot of rent to own situations out there. Maybe there happen, but I don't see them. Or maybe you can go with Picasso or whatever that company is. But anyway, I've been saying, and I quote it, all my buyers consultations, even if rates hit 7%, we're still pretty good historically. People have long-term memory in regards to the crash, and people are just worried. They're waiting for that crash to come back. They're waiting for things to dip. What was it, Ray? It was 19%, right? That things dipped. And in all of their recessions, except for another one, the home prices went back up again, or home gains went back up again. So people are kind of waiting for that, but then they have a short-term memory on interest rates. Does that make sense? So instead of they look historically, they want to know, okay, so when was the last crash? Cool. There's going to be another crash coming up. I see all these articles that say impending doom. I mean, how many times are you scrolling through YouTube, even if you're just scrolling with your kids and you're like, oh, there's a real estate one, impending crash. NAR says this, whatever, or economists say that, right? And they're just trying to get clicks is what they're trying to. Well, so remember that. And they're like, oh, well, it's going to happen again. I'm going to wait until then, because Suzy Urban is my God. And I'm going to wait until things, this week's shade brought to you by, I'm going to wait until things crash or come back down, and then they'll be affordable again. Then the 5% is no matter. But long term, we need to look at interest rates. And what have they really been? I went back on a show a couple months ago, and now it just mentioned in today's article, Last time they were this high was 2018. And I think I had that
Right.
same stat. Last time they were higher than this was 2011. And then they've been relatively low ever since. So if you look historically, 5% is nothing crazy. So that's my kind of longer answer. But then the shorter answers, I agree with who it was, Anna, right? Anna and Ray, which it really depends. I'm here to guide you through this process. And hopefully if you're ready now, that's great. I got you. If you're not, let's get you ready. But here's the concerns now if you wait, because even in that article we just read, Ray, was it Lawrence Yun?
Yeah.
He still predicts 5% gains, meaning if we don't buy right now, interest rates are going to keep sliding up, and by the end of the year, you will have, however you want to look at it, will
cost you more.
It'll cost you more on the home, and you have lost out on a possible at a minimum of 5% in gains that you could have gained this whole the rest of this year, and you're throwing it away on rent, which is 100% interest, like Jeremy James said.
Yeah, I agree. Jeremy says that 1980s were the 12 to 14% interest. Yeah, what's up?
So you kind of triggered me when you said Suzy Urban's name.
That was me. Sorry.
I want to go back to. Oh, sorry, John. Because oh my gosh, so many clients. All they heard back in 21. So what was that around? November.
It was 2020.
Oh, 2020, right?
It was in 2020. She came out in that early spring.
Around the corner.
Yeah,
right?
It was June.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So does she still have a job, or how does that work?
I mean, people are still buying her books, and she's still appearing on the new shows as a financial advisor person. You know, there's a video I did back whenever that came out, and I systematically took down each one of her points. And if you look at what the economy did versus what she said versus what I said, I mean, she was dead wrong. So it's a really interesting that they can get away with
wrong
that.
than ever 2 years later.
Way more wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're totally right.
And at the time it was, nationally, right? So what I explained to my clients then is, look, I'm sure she's got some valid points, just to be nice, I guess. Yet she's talking about nationally. Are you here in with me? Are you seeing what's happening? Let me show you what's happening, right? I don't really care what she's talking about nationally, but nonetheless, even nationally, she was dead wrong.
Yeah, she was dead wrong even then.
So it just puts it in perspective. That's why whatever's going on in the news, what hype is, that is not actually where the solution or the answer comes from. It's whatever your needs are, whatever's going on with you. So just wanted to share that. But yeah, when you said her name, I got cringy. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, at the time you should have seen, we were steering everyone on the show. We were steering everyone. We actually had the
we had her Facebook post. Yeah.
And we put it in comments, and we were all commenting, and
everyone commented on it.
The comments were pretty electric, we'll say.
Mike says inventory or lack thereof tells us that we shouldn't see a correction, but my gut says a correction is on the horizon.
Okay, so I wanted to ask Mike that question. A correction is defined by 10%. So you think that a $500,000 house is going to be worth $450, and how long is that correction is my question.
Mike's joining us in Clubhouse. Mike, take it away.
Hey, so again, everybody talks about lack of inventory and demand, and I just got outbid on an offer on a property yesterday. We were 108,000 over ask, and we didn't get it. So yeah, I get that there's a lot of money that's
not a correction
right now. Wow. Definitely not a correction. However,
and Mike, you're in LA, right?
You're Southern California, Chino Hills.
Yeah,
they're not too far from you.
Yeah.
I feel like so 10% correction, not a problem, because as far as I see it happening, because our prices right now are so overinflated from the cheap money that when you take that stimulus away, it's the cost of everything is going up. I read yesterday that the median priced home a year or 2 years ago, it took 26% of a person's income to qualify, or they're spending on. That's the ratio that the average buyer is at as percentage of their income, and now it's like 34%.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden wages aren't going to just double. The wages are far underpacing the increase in value.
Yeah.
And eventually enough people are going to just sit on the sidelines, and we're going to have inventory. The people that are motivated to sell and they're going to have to reduce their prices. Again, it's my gut, and I know, like I said yesterday, I got outbid on something.
Well, I don't disagree with your take, but I think the outbidding isn't necessarily going to lower prices. It's going to slow the gain. I think there's a lot of homeowners right now that are looking at it, that are putting their home out there at these crazy rates and then getting even more of it. So I think overall, though, the price per foot in these neighborhoods is still going to be going up. It's still going to be a net increase. So that's why I don't think it's going to be a correction, because I think it'll still go. However, what you bring up about affordability is a big issue for a lot of people. So I guess that's what NAR was talking about too. Yeah.
In that higher price point where you have offers that are cash and, or really small amounts percentage wise that are being financed, it might not have as big an impact. But in the average price where people, they were qualified in my market, let's say somebody was qualified for 3 months ago, that's gone. They're looking at $600, and then they're like, well, maybe I'll just rent. I know it's a bad, it's not a wise decision, but their wallet is going to tell them, how to think.
Yeah, that's as their disposable income drops and they look at what to do. But there's some people that are big fans of the high interest rates, like Jeremy James. Apparently, there's some people that are fans of the increase in inflation. And I remember growing up, like, people just didn't go ski all the time on a whim. And I use this as an example because as I got older, I was like, "Ooh, cool, I could go skiing now." But there's a lot of people. Like if you go to the slopes, it's full. Like there's a ton of people. And that's because things like that are no longer a luxury purchase because we all have so much money. So I think there's going to be some things that over the years have kind of been more of a luxury or higher end purchase that right now a lot of people are participating with,
or that one time a year
to stop participating with.
That one time a year, the whole family is off and you all go to Disney World for a week. That's the one time.
Yeah. Now it's going to be every 2 years or every 3 years instead of, one time a year. Right. So
I'm old enough to remember waiting in line for gas and going to the bank and having my savings account book and the amount of interest, and it was big, the amount of gain. And when I first started in real estate, I was refinancing people that had like 13, 14% mortgages. And so, but the home prices back then didn't see, a doubling in the years just prior to that. So again, I think there's a lot of artificialness in the market right now.
Yeah, I agree. Good comment, Mike. Thanks. Dusty Martin says, in my market, it may correct the luxury market, but it's going to force more buyers in the under 1 million buyer pool. And it's going to get harder for those buyers. Yeah. And Dan's cat is going crazy. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. That's all the articles that we have to cover. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, we'd appreciate if you drop a comment, like it, share it, send it around, subscribe and hit the bell. And if you're listening on the podcast, please review the podcast so that other people can find it as well. So even if you hate it, just let us know how you hate it and why.
Yeah. How do you hate it? How do you hate us and why?
How do you hate this?
Yeah.
Dan, could you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, it's at catbutts on Instagram.
No, probably don't Google that. That's probably not a good.
Please don't Google. It's right down here below me. D letter rocks, DLUDWIG ROCKS everywhere, but pretty much just go follow me on Instagram. I post. Yeah. I'm posting more and more real estate stuff because I am having fun with it. Partnering at, what do they call it, Ray? It's the
collab.
Collabing with Ray.
We collab.
And they're kind of fun. We share different audios back and forth and things and ideas, and I'm trying to be a little more creative with that because my creative streak is coming back. But I also share lots of other stuff, lots of good stuff on the Instagrams. Ray, where can they find you?
Find me. Oh my gosh, your cat.
Jeez.
You can find me at Razorback. That's RAYZORBACK. Everywhere good Razorbacks are sold, but mainly on Instagram. So find me on Instagram there, connect with me, shoot me a DM. I think we do have we have some more video coming out. So we found somebody to chop up our video, which I'm excited about. And so we should still have like a bunch of 1-minute reels coming out that kind of highlight parts of the show. So we appreciate you guys watching. Bye, Kitty. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Love you.